when you give, they do whatever the hell you want them to do.
You better believe it.
So what specifically did they do?
If I ask them, if I need them, you know, most of the people on this stage I've given to, just so you understand, a lot of money. I will tell you that our system is broken. I give to many people. Before 2 months ago, I was a businessman. I give to everybody. When they call, I give. And you know what? When I need something from them, 2 years later, 3 years later, I call them. They are there for me. And that's a broken system.
But the system we have, I agree, it's totally broken.
I think he's tapped into an anger that people feel. They're sick of politics as usual. You know, whatever your issue, your cause, the festering problem you hoped would be resolved, the political class has failed you. That's just a fact, and that's what Donald Trump taps into.
We have a House of Representatives that's not really very representative of mainstream America.
I think a far more serious issue right now is the fact that our government is a vast, bloated, unaccountable, corrupt bureaucracy.
Our campaign finance system, and let me underline the word, don't misquote me on this, it is a corrupt system.
I think money corrupts the process.
I think there is an element of fundraising influencing decisions.
Concentrated wealth has concentrated power in Washington, and that we can't get things done anymore.
Candidates are increasingly dependent on the very, very wealthy.
We have to reform our government and revitalize our democracy so it works for everybody. We have to stop the endless flow of secret, unaccountable money that is distorting our elections, corrupting our political process, drowning out the voices of people.
And one of the things you should do is everybody should be known. If somebody gives $1 million or $2 million or $5 million, it should be known. And I will tell you this nonsense with PACs where they have millions of dollars raised, $100 million raised, and they don't coordinate with the other people. I mean, Bush puts his best friend in there. They don't talk. You're not allowed to talk. Do you really believe that that doesn't happen? Okay? They're not allowed to talk. Okay? They play golf on Saturday, but they don't talk about the $100 million or where they're going to invest. Come on. We're not babies. It's a shame. It's a disgrace.
But if I'm a normal politician who needs to raise $20, $50 million, where am I going to go? I'm going to sit down with the wealthy. I'm going to go to the country club. I'm going to do my fundraisers at fancy resorts. And I get to know those people. But that's the whole point of this corrupt campaign finance system. If you're going to contribute $1 million to my super PAC, well, maybe you're a hell of a nice guy and you like to participate. Or maybe you want something. I think you want something. And you and a guy are going to become really good buddies so I can do your bidding. In other words, the millionaire class and the billionaire class increasingly own the political process and they own the politicians who go to them for money.
First of all, it is a bad system when billionaires can be the ones that pick a president. I don't like that.
I'm not doing what's right for a man that gave me $1 million to run for office, and I owe him. And when Bush gets $100 million plus, and when Hillary gets $50 million plus, every one of those people that put up money will control Bush. Control. I don't mean like a little bit. Bush is controlled by those people. Walker is controlled by those people. Hillary Clinton is controlled by those people.
What's wrong? I mean, this is what's wrong. He buys and sells politicians of all stripes. He's already, hey, look, he's already hedging his bet on the Clintons, okay? So if he doesn't run as a Republican, maybe he supports Clinton, or maybe he runs as an independent. Okay. But I'd say that he's already hedging his bets because he's used to buying politicians.
Well, I've given him plenty of money.
Just to be clear, there's got to be a more level playing field so that we don't end up substituting the presidency for a plutocracy, where only the wealthiest people can end up running for president. Because when we do that, we're going to have a ruling class and a servant class. And most of us are never going to qualify to be in the ruling class.
That is a great deal of money, and again, we need a level playing field, and we need to go back to the realization that Teddy Roosevelt had, that we have to have a limit on the flow of money, and that corporations are not people.
And I worry very much, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, that we are moving very, very quickly from a democratic society, one person, one vote, to an oligarchic form of society where billionaires will be determining who the elected officials of this country are. I'm going to do everything I can to stop that.
One of them. I contribute to everybody, and they're always there for me. But that's not good for the country. That's not good as a system.
Suppose there's a Senate campaign in a small state and 10 people to get together and decided to contribute $10 million each. You think that wouldn't affect that Senate campaign?
I don't have as much money as some of these guys that are running for president. My campaign has not been financed. You probably haven't seen as many of the television ads for me. You've seen some, but not as many for me as you have some of these other folks. Many of my contributors send in $10, $20, $30, not $1,000, $2,000. And then give money to these Washington special interest groups so they can attack me independently.
The logical consequence is that the only people who can run for office in America who don't have to curry favors are billionaires themselves.
I'm afraid, at least for the time being, that's going to be the case because of the most misguided, naive, uninformed, egregious decision of the United States Supreme Court, I think, in the 21st century. To somehow view money as not having an effect on election, a corrupting effect on election, flies in the face of reality.
The Supreme Court that gave us Citizens United created a system in which billionaires can buy elections. The United States can no longer go around the world and lecture countries on democracy when what our country is becoming is a system in which billionaires can spend unlimited sums of money to elect the candidates.
I would appoint justices to the Supreme Court who would protect every citizen's right to vote rather than every corporation's right to buy elections. And if necessary, I will support a constitutional amendment to undo the Supreme Court's decision in the Citizens United case.
Remember, the Supreme Court rules on constitutionality, so just passing another law doesn't get it. So I'm afraid we're in for a very bleak period in American politics.
So when Jeb and Hillary and all of these other candidates start spending money, remember this, that money was given by people that have total control over them. And those people, many of whom I know very well, they don't care about him, they don't care about the color of his hair, they don't care anything about him, and they don't care about the country in many cases. They only want whatever they want, and they'll get plenty. Yes, sir. That's a broken system.